So I want to make this video explaining the long method of factoring this quadratic trinomial. Step 1, it says multiply a times c. Remember, it's in order a, b, and c. So the a value here is 1. Let's first understand that. The a value is 1, the b value is -2, the c value is -24. So it says step 1. I think it would be a good idea for everybody to write down the number 1 as in step 1, and let's actually multiply a times c. That's what it says, a times c, and you get a number. So what is going to be that number when I multiply a times c on step 1? It's going to be -24, right? A is 1 times c is -24. The answer is -24. That is our answer for step 1. I think everybody understands how to do a times c, correct? Let's move on to step 2. If we read step 2 right here, it says, think of the multiples of that number, the -24, from step 1 that combine to give you the b value. The b value is -2, right? So it says tip, make a list. All right, so let's do this. Let's number it, step 2, and let's make a list of numbers, of the pair of numbers that multiply to give me -24. So how could I get -24? I could go -1 times 24, -2 times 12, -3 times 8, -4 times 6. And that's about it, right? Because if you go 6, you're going to go back to 6 times 4. So you already got that pair of numbers. So these are all the possible ways of multiplying together to give you -24 besides changing signs. In other words, it could be a +1 and a -24 or a +2 and a -12. But this is it. This is the combos besides changing signs. Now, step 2 says, think of the multiples of that number. Here are all the multiples that combine to give you the b value. So which of these could I combine? Combine means add and subtract. So if I were to go -1 plus 24, what would I get? I'd get 23. The b value is not 23. If I combine -2 and 12, what do I get? I get 10. The b value is not 10. If I combine -3 and 8, what do I get? I get 5. The b value is not 5. It's the last one. -4 and 6, when I combine those, what do I get? I get 2, but check this out. The b value is not exactly 2. It's actually -2. So I have the right number. I just have the wrong sign, right? Which means I have the right numbers. When you guys say this is the right pair of numbers, you're right. It's the right pair of numbers. I just have the wrong signs. So I need to change the -4 into a +4, and I need to change that +6 into a -6. I have found the pair of numbers that I'm looking for in step 2. So once again, step 1, multiply a times c. That was easy. Step 2, make a list of all the multiples of this answer, and you're looking for the ones that combine to give you the middle value, -2, and we found it. It's +4 times -6. That gives us -24, and when we combine them, it does give us -2. Let's move on to step 3. This is where it gets really weird. Step 3, rewrite your b as those two numbers from step 2, thus changing your trinomial to a polynomial. I need to change this b value, which is really -2x, into these two terms, but with x's. So I'm going to change the trinomial into a polynomial. So the first part says x squared. I'm just going to write it. Check it out. So step 3, x squared is my first one. Instead of the b value of -2x, I'm going to rewrite that -2x as a +4x minus 6x. Once again, instead of -2x, I'm going to rewrite it as +4x minus 6x. Check it out. +4x minus 6x. Guys, if I add 4x and -6x, what do I get? -2x. So I'm really not doing anything besides changing this into this, which is the same thing. And I still have my c value of -24. I need to write that right there. So what have I done? I have successfully changed a trinomial into a polynomial. Why the heck would I want to change 3 terms into 4 terms? So you could factor by grouping, what we were doing yesterday, right? So on the 3 terms, I can't do grouping, but right now that I have 4 terms, now I could actually do grouping. And that's why right here it says step 4, factor by grouping, and it reminds you of the steps that you should already know. So let me zoom in on this, and let me factor by grouping. So step 4 is to do factoring by grouping. Let's separate it into two groups. X squared plus 4x space minus 6x minus 24. And then you look at your first group. What could you pull out of your first group? What's in common in your first group? An x. If I pull out an x, what's left over in those parentheses? X plus 4. You guys are doing great. All right, how about that second group? What could I pull out of the second group?
6.
A 6. That's great. Now, but what is better than pulling out a 6? A negative 6. Now, why do I say that? Because if I pull out a negative 6, then you're thinking, okay, negative 6 times what will get us a negative 6x? That'll be a 1x, right? And that's what we want. We want the same exact binomial. You see how both of these were negative? If I just pulled out a 6, these would still be negative and these are positives. So that's why I'm pulling out a negative 6 instead of a 6. That way I end up with the same identical common binomial in both groups. So my final step of factoring by grouping is to make some exaggerated parentheses and put that common binomial out here in the front. The x plus 4, it comes out to the front. What's left over on the inside of those exaggerated parentheses? X minus 6. So there's my answer. X plus 4 times x minus 6. That is my factored form of the original quadratic trinomial up there. Crazy, right? I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, look at that. The video so far is 6 minutes, and all I've done is one question. That's crazy. And I kind of rushed through it too. So there's already a different video that explains this same exact process many more times. But what I want to do on this video with you guys is focus in on the shortcut. I hope you guys remember this process. I hope you guys watch the other video so you could refresh your memory on this long process, because you're going to need that long process next week on the next section, not this section. But I'm showing it to you now. I want to show you a shortcut right now, guys. Check this out, the shortcut. As you can see, it takes a really long time to do these types of problems, but there is a shortcut. Here is the shortcut to factoring the quadratic trinomial ax squared plus bx plus c when your a value equals 1. When there is no number right here, when it's an invisible 1, you're going to be able to jump right into your answer format, which is parenthesis, parenthesis, x, and x. And then all you do is think, what times what is c that if you combine together is b? So this is going to be a little weird, but let me just jump right into it. Now, because there's no number right here, because there's no 2, no 4, no 5, it's just the nice number 1, invisible number 1, I could jump right into my answer. Put an x right here and an x right there. Now, why could I do this? Because x times x really is x squared, right? So the shortcut says, what times what is your c value that if you combine together is your b value? What times what is 24? Let's make a list just for fun, right? How could I get 24? 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6, 5 times, no, that's it. That's the only possible ways of getting 24 besides changing the signs. Now, if I combine 1 and 24, what do I get? 25. That's not 25. 2 and 12 is 14. That's not 14. 3 and 8 is 11. That's not 11. 4 and 6 is 10. That's 10, but I want it to be negative. So I have the right numbers. I just have the wrong signs. So let's change it to what? Negative 4 and negative 6. And now we're done. Hey guys, and now we're done. What? What do you mean now we're done? Check this out. We're going to take this number, negative 4, and we're going to put it right in here. And we're going to take that number, negative 6, and put it right in there. Whoa. Man. There we go. Sorry. And we're done. That is the factored form.
So when you did the list, either both of them have to add.
I don't know if you guys know, but this is an amazing shortcut. Let's go back to the one we did that it took us 6 minutes to do. All right? Check this out. Check this out. Is the a value 1? Yeah, okay. So if the a value is 1, you could just jump right into this. The answer. What times what is negative 24 that if you combine together is negative 2? We kind of already did that work right here. It's 4 and 6, and you're done. You just put that that plus 4 right there and the minus 6 right there, and that's it. I mean, look, you get the same answer, x plus 4, x minus 6. Shortcut. Amazing, right? Okay. Let's go back and practice some more over here. Where are we at? Let's try this one right here. Because the a value is 1, you could jump right into your answer. Now, what if this were a 6 right here? Then you wouldn't be able to do this answer format. You wouldn't be able to do the shortcut. Why not? Because x times x is not 6x squared, right? So because we don't have an a value, because the a value is 1, we could jump and do this shortcut. All right. So let's think. What times what is the c value that if I combine together is the b value? What times what is 5 that if I combine together is negative 6? 1 and 5, right? Yeah, 1 and 5. So let's do 1 times 5. That's how to get 5.
It's negative 1 and negative 5.
But if you add 1 and 5 together, it gives you a positive 6, and we want a negative 6. So we have the right numbers, we just have the wrong signs. So let's change the signs to a negative 1 and a negative 5. Plug it into your answer format. Negative 1, negative 5. You're done. That's it. And if you wanted to double check your answer, you could always distribute. Say x times x is x squared. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. Negative 1 times x is negative 1x. The negative 1x and the negative 5x combine together to give you negative 6x. But anyway, it's really super easy. The shortcut is what times what is the c value that if you combine together is the b value. How about this guy? The a value is 1. I'm able to jump right into this, right? Put x, put x. What times what is 54 that if I combine together is 15? Now, if you see the right combo, if you see the right combo, you don't have to make a list. But if you don't see it right off the bat, go ahead and make a list, right? I want to pretend that I don't see it right off the bat. How do I make a list? How could I get 54? Well, 1 times 54. And then I go to 2. 2 times, what's half of 54? 27. 3 times something, give me 54. You could use a calculator too. 3 times, I think 18, because 3 times 10 is 30, 3 times 8 is 24, 30 and 24 is 54. 4 times something, give me 54. No, it doesn't work. How about 5 times something? No. How about 6 times something?
Yes.
6 times 9, okay, and that's about it. 7 doesn't work, 8 doesn't work, 9 works with 6. Those are all the possible ways of getting 54. Which pair of numbers combines together? The last one. These guys work. And you don't have to change any signs, right? I mean, 6 is the answer, 9 is the answer, plug it in, positive 6 right there, positive 9 right there, you're done, you factored it. Isn't the shortcut amazing? Yeah. The a value is 1. Set up your answer format, x and x.
It'll be 1 times 2, 2 times 4,
1 times, well, actually, negative 1 times 8. Negative 2 times 4. Negative 3 doesn't work. Negative 4. 4 times 2 we already used. So that's it. Those are the only possible ways.
The last one.
If
Change the negative 4. 4 to negative.
If I combine these, what do I get?
2.
I get 2, and that's not a 2.
That's you have to turn it into a negative.
Now, even if you were to change the signs, if you change the signs, if you make that a positive 2 and that a negative 4, that's still not going to give you 6, negative 6.
Whoa.
But then it's not gonna.
Yeah, so you can't make this. Some people are saying make that a negative 2, but negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8, not negative 8. Not factorable. It is true. Sometimes they ask you to factor something and you just can't do it. Just like if I ask you to simplify x plus 7. You can't do it. You just say x plus 7.
Why can't you do it negative 2, negative 4?
Because negative 2 times negative 4 is what? Is positive 8, not negative 8, right? So you always want to think, what times what is this number that if I combine together is this number? And there is no such numbers exist. So we say not factorable. That means that you're not able to factor it. Okay, not factorable. So sometimes you're going to just have not factorable questions. How about we practice right here? What do you guys say the answer is going to be? What numbers belong in there?
2.
Let's make a list. How could I get the answer 1? 1 times 1 is 1. That's it. There's nothing else. So if I add 1 and 1 together, I'll get a positive 2, not a negative 2. So all you got, yeah, it's the right numbers, just the wrong sign. So let's make them both negative. Boom, boom. And that's it. There's your answer. X minus 1, X minus 1. Let's try this guy down here. Since the A value is 1, there's no number out in the front, I could jump right into my answer format and think, what times what is 12?
4 and 3.
Okay, let's make a list. 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. And that's about it. Which pair of numbers gives me a negative 8? 2 and 6 gives me a positive 8, so it's the right numbers, it's just the wrong signs. So negative 2, negative 6 is the right pair of numbers.
Does it really matter?
The signs do matter. Signs do matter. Why? Because
I mean, like, if one's negative and one's positive, does it matter which one has a negative?
if one's negative and one's positive, it does matter because you have to combine the numbers to give you the middle value. So that does matter. You got to actually combine them and see which one's the positive and which one's a negative. In this case, they're both negative. Why? Because a negative 2 times a negative 6 is positive 12. If you add negative 2 and negative 6 together, it does give you negative 8. So my answer is a negative 2 right in here and a negative 6 right in here. Let's try another. Up here. Answer format. It's not factorable? If you're not sure, make a list. How could you get 10 or negative 10? Negative 1 times 10, negative 2 times 5, and that's it. Now some people are saying not factorable, but if I add negative 1 and 10, what do I get? I get 9, and that's not 9. If I add negative 2 and 5, what do I get? I get 3. That is a 3, but I want it to be negative. So just change the signs. Make it a positive 2 and a negative 5. So positive 2 and negative 5, that's what belongs in there. Last one. What times what is 56? That if I combine together is 15. 1 times 56. 2 times 28. 3 times, that doesn't work. 4 times 14?
Yeah.
5 times, no. 6 times, no. 7 times 8, okay. And that works, right? 7 and 8. If you add those, it does give you the B value 15. So you don't have to change any signs. It's actually a positive 7 and a positive 8. We are done. Now, what do I mean by we're done? I mean, this is the factored form. If you were to distribute, you don't have to do this, but if you were to distribute x times x, x squared. X times 8, 8x. 7 times x, 7x. 7 times 8, 56. Combine the middle terms, you will get the 15x. You'll get the whole thing up here. So you could always double check if you have extra time by distributing to see if it actually gives you the original quadratic trinomial. So we are ready to practice this. But you're probably thinking, why the heck did you show us this crazy, huge, long method? And if you want to see more of it, watch the other video. But the reason why I showed you that crazy, huge, long method is because you're not always going to have the A value of 1. As you can see right here, we have the A value of 6, which means that this, jumping right into that, doesn't work. Why not? Because x times x is not 6x squared. This does not work. So what we need to do is that long, crazy method that we started with. And this is more for next week, not for this week, but I might as well walk you through it one more time. What's step 1 on those crazy long steps that we had? Step 1 is to multiply. 8 times c, 6 times negative 3, that's negative 18. Step 2, think of the multiples of negative 18. Make a list like negative 1 times 18, negative 2 times 9, negative 3 times 6. And that's about it. Which pair of numbers combines together to give me the B value of negative 7?
2.
Negative 2 times 9, but that will give me a positive 7, and I need it to be a negative 7, so let's change the signs, make that a positive 2 instead of a negative, make that a negative 9 instead of a positive 9. And now we move on to step 3 of that complicated method, which was rewriting the whole thing, the 6x squared, the minus 7x, and the minus 3. But notice, I left the middle one blank because I'm going to change that minus 7x to these two numbers. I want to change it to a positive 2x and a minus 9x. So instead of the minus 7x, I changed it to those two terms with x's. Why did I do that? Because now I have 4 terms, and now I could factor by grouping. So step 4 is factoring by grouping. 6x squared plus 2x, leave space, minus 9x minus 3. In the first group, I could pull out the GCF of what? 2 and x. In the second group, what could I pull out?
3.
A 3, and even better than a 3 is a negative 3. That way you get the same exact binomial on the inside. Let's go get that binomial. What's 2x times what will give me 6x squared?
3x.
A 3x. And a plus 1 also. So 3x plus 1 is a common binomial. And the other one, it'll also be 3x plus 1, correct?
Yeah.
Final step would be to use some exaggerated parentheses. Pull out that common binomial of 3x plus 1. What do we have left? 2x minus 3. So that is our factored form of the original. So up here, this whole original quadratic trinomial, you could factor it to the 3x plus 1 times 2x minus 3. That's why we learned the long method. Because when you don't have 1 out here, when it's a 6, when it's a 2, when it's a 5, when it's any number out here, when your a value is not 1, you're going to have to use this long method. So I just wanted to give you a little taste of that. You don't have to do that this week. You will have to do it next week, all right?